Ever felt like the universe is testing you, breaking you, stripping everything away until you're left with nothing but the pain? What if I told you that the pain you're feeling right now, yes, that pain, could be the very thing that transforms you? The ancient Stoics believed that suffering isn't just a curse to endure, it's a forge that shapes character, a signal pointing you toward your true purpose. But how do you turn heartache into strength? How do you find meaning in the middle of the storm? Stick with me. In the next few minutes, you'll discover timeless wisdom that helped emperors face wars, slaves find freedom in their minds, and can help you turn your pain into power. Pain is a universal experience. Whether it arises from loss, failure, rejection, illness, or betrayal, no one escapes it. Yet, how we respond to pain determines whether it becomes a source of bitterness or a crucible for transformation. For those seeking meaning in the midst of suffering, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers a powerful roadmap. Rooted in resilience, reason, and inner peace, Stoic wisdom teaches us how to transform pain into purpose. The Stoics believe that while we cannot control external events, we can always control our responses. This core principle, the dichotomy of control, remains central to the Stoic approach to pain. Rather than resist suffering, the Stoics teach us to face it with courage, clarity, and composure. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering, wrote Friedrich Nietzsche, echoing a sentiment the Stoics would endorse. Pain is not merely something to be endured, it is something to be learned from. For the Stoics, suffering can serve as a catalyst for virtue, a training ground for resilience, and a mirror that reveals our true character. Epictetus, who was born into slavery and later crippled, put it bluntly, difficulties are things that show a person who they are. Pain strips away the superficial and the false. It exposes our fears, desires, and illusions. In doing so, it gives us an opportunity, if we're willing to take it, to rebuild ourselves with greater strength and clarity. One of the most powerful tools Stoicism offers is the ability to reframe pain. The Stoics practiced a form of cognitive reframing centuries before modern psychology discovered its value. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the essence of amor fati, the love of fate. Rather than seeing adversity as a setback, Stoicism encourages us to see it as fuel for growth. If we can shift our mindset from "why is this happening to me?" to "what can I learn from this?" we begin to reclaim agency in situations where we once felt powerless. For instance, if you lose your job, the pain is real, but so is the opportunity. You can use the experience to reassess your values, develop new skills, or pursue a path that aligns more deeply with your passions. If you're grieving, you can allow the loss to deepen your empathy and commitment to others. Pain, when approached with wisdom, can become a portal to purpose. Stoicism is built on 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These aren't abstract ideals, they are practical tools for navigating life's challenges. 1. Wisdom, see clearly. Wisdom is the ability to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. In times of pain, wisdom prevents us from getting lost in emotion or distorted thinking. It urges us to examine our beliefs and assumptions. Are we suffering more from our judgments than the actual event? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." By applying wisdom, we learn to separate the story we tell ourselves from the facts of the situation. This clarity can be profoundly liberating. 2. Courage, act rightly. Pain often tempts us to withdraw or lash out. Courage is the virtue that allows us to remain steady and act with integrity, even when it hurts. It means facing the fear, grief, or despair head-on, not with bravado, but with grounded strength. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." It takes courage to walk a path of healing and transformation, especially when others do not understand your choices. But it is this very courage that turns wounds into wisdom. 3. Justice, serve others. Even in pain, the Stoics taught, we must remember our duty to others. Justice is the commitment to fairness, compassion, and social responsibility. It keeps our suffering from turning into selfishness. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor plagued by personal and political strife, continually returned to the idea that we are part of a larger human community. He wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." Our pain can deepen our compassion, making us more effective servants to others who suffer. This outward focus can transform personal pain into collective purpose. 4. Temperance, hold steady. Temperance is the ability to practice moderation and self-discipline. It prevents us from being controlled by our pain, whether through escapism, addiction, or excessive self-pity. Temperance teaches us to endure discomfort without losing our balance. It doesn't mean suppressing emotion or pretending to be unaffected. Rather, it means creating space between stimulus and response. In that space lies our freedom. So, how do we actually turn pain into purpose? Here are 5 Stoic strategies that can guide us. 1. Accept reality without resistance. The first step is acceptance, not passive resignation, but active acknowledgement. The Stoics called this fatum, the acceptance of fate. If something has already happened, no amount of denial or outrage can undo it. As Epictetus said, do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to, rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens, then you will be happy. Acceptance allows us to stop wasting energy on what we cannot change and redirect it toward what we can. 2. Practice voluntary discomfort. Stoics train themselves through voluntary hardship, fasting, cold exposure, walking barefoot, not to punish themselves, but to build mental toughness. Seneca recommended imagining the worst-case scenario to inoculate against fear. He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. When we willingly embrace small discomforts, we cultivate the resilience needed to face larger ones. Pain becomes less of a shock and more of a challenge we are prepared to meet. 3. Journal for reflection. Journaling was a daily practice for Stoics like Marcus Aurelius. Writing allows us to process pain with reason and perspective. By putting our experiences into words, we create distance from our emotions and gain insight into our values. Use your journal to ask Stoic questions. What is within my control right now? What virtue can I practice in this situation? What would a wise person do here? Over time, journaling helps transform reactive patterns into purposeful responses. 4. Use role models. The Stoics often looked to exemplars of virtue in times of crisis. Whether it was Socrates facing death, Cato resisting tyranny, or a friend enduring hardship with grace, these role models offered a living vision of what's possible. Find your own modern Stoic heroes, people who have turned adversity into contribution. Let their example remind you that your pain, too, can serve a higher purpose. 5. Commit to something larger than yourself. Perhaps the most powerful way to turn pain into purpose is to align it with something greater than your own comfort. This could be a cause, a community, a creative pursuit, or a spiritual path. When we use our suffering to help others, it ceases to be meaningless. Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, drawing on Stoic insights, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Your pain can become your why, your fuel for growth, contribution, and deeper meaning. In a world of constant distraction, rapid change, and emotional overwhelm, Stoic wisdom is more relevant than ever. It offers a counterbalance to the reactive, victim-oriented mindset so prevalent today. Stoicism does not promise that life will be easy or painless. It promises that you will be strong enough to face it, wise enough to learn from it, and purposeful enough to use it. Imagine a world where more people approached pain with Stoic principles, not as something to escape, but as something to embrace and transform. It would be a world with more resilience, more compassion, and more integrity. In conclusion, turning pain into purpose is not a one-time event, it is a lifelong practice. Some days it will be easy, Others it will feel impossible. But every moment of suffering contains within it a seed of virtue, of insight, of potential. The Stoics do not promise that this path will be painless. But they do promise that it is worth it. You don't need to be an emperor like Marcus Aurelius or a philosopher like Seneca to walk this path. You only need the willingness to ask, each day, what can I do with this pain? And then take one step, just one, toward purpose. Because in the end, it's not what happens to you that defines you. It's what you choose to make of it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.